So my name is Jeroen Nieboer. I work at the London School of Economics and I'm a behavioural scientist. So I'll be talking about three aspects of financial education: why we need it, how we can make it work, and what behavioural science, economics, psychology can teach us about how to make it better. So why do we need it? Well, these are just some figures from a nationwide survey in the UK that was published last year. And 51% of the people, this is a representative survey across the whole population, report that they struggle to keep up with their household bills and their debt repayments. 40% of people, when asked, can you cover an unexpected £300 expense, have to seriously think where they would get the money from to cover the expense. And not surprisingly, 48% of people actually report that they worry about their finances. Now, what might cause this, these financial problems? Well, there's some evidence that it's to do with attitudes, or perhaps a lack of knowledge in some parts as well. So, for example, 24% of people report that sort of their attitude to life and finances, they prefer to live for today rather than plan for tomorrow. 17%, so 1 out of 6 people, if they were invited for a meal to go out for dinner tonight, even if they couldn't really afford it, they would still do it. And then, perhaps more shockingly, so 1 out of 6 people also, when they're presented with a bank statement, they can't actually locate the account balance on there. So that suggests that there's quite a knowledge problem as well. So what can we do about that? Well, there's different solutions to these problems of financial capability. You might want to take a paternalistic approach and say, well, perhaps the government should be a bit more involved and should help people make the right decisions for themselves. Well, that has some negative consequences. You invade people's personal freedoms to do with their own money what they want, and that could create a lack of competition in the financial sector as well. You could also regulate more heavily, but that could have the downside of inhibiting financial innovation, and it could mean that the good consumers suffer for the sins, quotation marks, of the bad ones. So financial education is really a third way where you retain people's personal choice, and you can also teach them something in the process, and they might actually become more interested in managing their finances. So that all sounds really good. Does it actually work? Well, we did a big systematic overview of all the financial education programs that people have published about. And what we found is that, yes, it does work sometimes, but not very often. And the crucial factors in terms of success of financial education seem to be, well, do they take the basics of human psychology into account? There's things like, are you stressed when you're on this financial education course? Are you distracted by other things, perhaps your job, your family situation? People procrastinate, people forget, people might leave a financial education course with the best intentions, but won't actually follow up those intentions in the months after the course. So we identified 3 basic principles for making financial education more effective, both from the existing literature on financial education and also from what behavioural science has taught us about how people decide. And the first principle is making it timely. So we identify these teachable moments when people are most susceptible to learning something and actually changing their behaviour. So you could have just lost your job. I guess a more positive one is you could have just started a new job. Maybe you just got married, your situation changes, or you just had a baby. Or perhaps, more concerningly, you might be in serious debt and you might be very open to receiving some advice. The second principle is making it relevant. So teach people the behaviours that apply to their situation. Do they need investment advice? Do they need help with clearing their debts? Or do they just need to be taught how to save some money on their daily shopping? And that all depends on the kind of problems and challenges they're facing. And the third one is making it specific. So you have to turn intentions into actions directly. So rather than talking to people about the benefits of having a savings account and getting everyone to agree that they should really open one and start depositing some money, why not show up to the meeting with a bunch of forms from different banks so they can have a good look around, come back next week and actually sign one of the forms and open an account and start saving immediately. And research shows that those approaches are much more effective at actually changing people's behaviour and their financial situation in the long term. So the project is the following. With our partners in the social housing sector in London, we identified a group of people for which we think it's particularly timely to provide this education. There are people who are behind in their rent payments quite significantly. And we provide them with the education that follows these principles of being both relevant and specific. And the goals, we're tracking their finances, obviously, over time. But I'd like to end with saying that it's not just the finances that matters, but there's also a wider goal, which is to improve people's well-being, to make them less stressed, so they can work, perform better in their jobs, be better family members, be better members of the community, and generally raise their level of well-being. Thank you.
Maybe a question on how you can look for timely moments. Is this something that will have to rely on getting to the finance of people, or are there behavioral indices? You mentioned that we go out to dinner at restaurants, whether we can afford or not for some of us. Are there some consumption traits that can be, I'm thinking compulsive gambling or this type of stuff, but probably that's not the right approach. But
well, I think there's two types of teachable moments. So there's the life events, so getting married, having a baby, losing a job, or a medical emergency could be an important moment as well. And that's probably where you want to provide people with an education program. But there's also more shorter, sort of, I guess, smaller events, like your example about the dinner. And that's really where, and there's a whole literature on this, commitment devices, which basically means that when you're in a cold state, i.e. when you're planning for the weekend, you should make decisions that sort of limit your wriggle room when you're in a hot state. And the hot state being your friends all are around you, they're asking, oh, do you want to come for dinner? If you use a commitment device, say you use only cash to manage your budget and you don't keep your credit card in your pocket, then you'll be easier able to withstand those pressures. Or, for example, you could have bought lots of groceries already, so instead of going out for an expensive dinner, you can invite your friends around for a dinner back at yours, which is equally fun, but a lot cheaper.
It's Odysseus and the Sirens all over again.
Exactly, yeah, it's all about that.